And tonight we have a special treat courtesy of Games Workshop. This was sent to us in advance for the purpose of this video, and this is the new Chaos Knights Army set. So we're going to go ahead and crack this open. Right off the bat, what we do know is it does come with one Chaos Knight and then two of the much smaller versions. I believe the Imperial version is Armiger, is what they're called. But with the Chaos Knights box, they're called War Dogs. And then it also comes with the data cards and then the new Codex for Chaos Knights, which actually this is the fastest way to get that Codex. So if you are a player of Chaos Knights and you want to get that new Codex, this is going to be the earliest you can get it. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open. Now, so it's a total of 3 models, with the Knoght Abominant actually has the kit with it, so that way you can actually choose to build the previous 2 Chaos Knights as well. So that is a huge benefit to this model itself. So I mean, if you end up getting, you know, one of these and you decide you don't want to actually make the Abominant, you can go with the 2 classic ones. Well, I say classic, but you know, I mean, they're still not that old yet. But you can go with that style and, you know, build those ones as well, and then that just gives you some extra bits for your bits box either way. So we're going to go ahead and take these out now. With the War Dogs, because most of the parts are going to be very similar, I know that we're going to have some duplicate sprues. Like right off the bat, we have 2 sprues that are the same. So we're going to set one here. Now there is a lot of detail on here. Like, I mean, we have the kind of the Eye of Horus built-in chains, and a lot of kind of like claws and pinchers, and then, you know, exhausts as well coming off of it. Just a ton of detail, a lot more than we see on most models these days. But you know, anyone that has followed the show for a long time will know that, you know, I'm a huge fan of Chaos armies, and, you know, the Chaos Knights and the War Dogs, you know, now, but the Chaos Knights was really the only Chaos faction that I've never been able to actually like take part in any way, just because of the fact that, you know, it requires getting a Chaos Knight, and since we didn't have any, we weren't able to do so. So let's go ahead and dig in a little bit deeper. Let's see. Alright, so we have another duplicate sprue. So you can actually build both War Dogs to be exactly the same. There's 3 different main loadouts, at least that are was listed on the Warhammer community site. Now the second sprue that we have duplicates of, this is where you get most of your weapons, your extra chains and skulls, the kind of canine heads, the more, you know, servo skull looking style head. You know, a lot of different options there. Now for the War Dogs, I mean, the fact that they're called War Dogs, and the way that they're posed gives me a very canine, you know, animalish feel. So I know that when I build them, I'm likely going to be doing both of them with the more skeletal kind of robotic head on there. But as far as the weapons go, my inclination was to do one geared for melee and then one geared for ranged attacks. But as far as, you know, what kind of ranged attacks, I haven't decided yet, because it does look like we have some options here. You know, I'm seeing, you know, an autocannon, I'm seeing a flamethrower, so definitely some options there. So let's set that sprue right here. And we have, looks like 4 mostly unique sprues, at least as far as this box is concerned. Now, having never built a Chaos Knight before, I don't know if any of these sprues are duplicated from that original kit, or if these have the same pieces but redesigned on the sprue to make and give these new options as well. So I'm not certain there, but looking at it, I mean, just the chassis itself has a ton of detail. I mean, we've got kind of bullet holes with spreading damage from there. It definitely looks more kind of pockmarked, which definitely gives me a Nurgle vibe. Now, the one that's on the actual back of the box that they have in the picture is the traditional greens and putrescent from Nurgle. So I feel like that's kind of more intentional. But there is so much detail here, and I am so excited to build one of these. I've never built even an Imperial Knight either. So the fact that I'm going to be able to get in and do that is definitely got me very excited. So here we have our legs, and then we also have the banner that kind of hangs down. I'm hoping that there will be some sort of transfer decals that will be able to transfer onto that banner really well. Since with having that much fabric and with as large as this model is, I mean, that's bigger than some actual individual models for your army as it is. So you definitely want something that's gonna make it stand out. Hey, kitten. So my daughter's kitten is very curious in what we're doing. So everybody say hello to Malibu. And so looking at the legs, I mean, and comparing to the other sprues, we have the two main legs. I'm guessing that if any of them are duplicate from the previous build, it's definitely going to be this one with the legs, because I see some of the faces that we had available on the previous Imperial Knight as well, and I know that they had this cloth there too, and so I'm guessing that this one is a duplicate from that. So when we do our close-up of the sprues, we're not going to zoom in on that one. This one is definitely new. This is where we get our tentacles, our kind of robotic tentacles, which look fantastic if you ask me. Definitely a lot of cool stuff on here. I love the look of this giant cannon as well. I'm not sure exactly what kind of cannons they are, just looking at them, but definitely some really cool, really menacing looking stuff. Now this other sprue, I'm willing to bet is also not new, just because these are some of the same weapon loadouts that you would get on the previous Chaos Knights. But this one we're definitely gonna zoom in on just to be safe, so you guys can take a look at that. But a lot of really cool detail. I love, like, just I mean, I'm saying the word detail a lot, but I just love that attention to detail. Like, we have these pipes or tubes coming here, and I mean, we have the individual kind of ribbing on the side of those pipes, and definitely gives a lot of realism to those things. Like, even like this pipe that's connected right here, same thing there. So I mean, the folks that are designing these are doing a fantastic job. I mean, so much detail, and I love the fact that there's so much variety just in one kit. Definitely gives you a lot more options. And then, as usual, we always have our insert in the box, and so it's the same on both sides. Just one side has a barcode and the other does not. So in here we have a little insert that everything fits into. We have our Codex, which we're going to set that aside to look at it in just a minute. In that same package is the instruction booklet. Here we have we do have 2 transfer sheets as well. So we're going to take a look at those when we zoom in close on everything else. Then we have our 3 bases, for the War Dogs, and then the bigger one for the Chaos Knights. And let's go ahead and get these cards open. I'm hoping that the fact that they have planned to release the Chaos, the Chaos Knights Codex and the Imperial Knights Codex about the same time. I'm hoping that just before that release, or at the same time as that release, we get a similar box with some new Imperial Knights, because since I've gotten back into the hobby, I mean, it's been about 4 or 5 years now. We've had the same Imperial Knight. Other than the Armigers, we haven't really had anything new come out for them. So I'm hoping that there is something new. And actually, I just realized that my cat actually adjusted the camera, so let's adjust that a little bit. So I'm hoping that we do get like a new style Imperial Knight. Because as time goes on, as the war goes on, that the Imperium... Hi, Boo. The Imperium's going to be, innovating. They're going to be coming up with new weapons, new, Titans type things to use, and at least that I would assume so. They have the Tech Priests of Mars working overtime on, building their new weapons and everything all the time. So, definitely would expect them to, somehow improve on it. Maybe give it, some more armor or some more weapons that it didn't have before. From what I remember in the lore, like the main Titans themselves, those were very limited supply, that they could basically repair and refit, but they could not rebuild from scratch. And because a lot of that technology was lost, and now if I'm wrong there, please correct me in the comments, but that's been my understanding since about the days that Abnett's Titanicus book came out. It's been a while since I've read it, but I was pretty sure that he makes mention of that exact fact in there, and I'm very certain that his Titan-themed comic that he did with Boom Studios, even way further back, kind of highlighted on the same. So, assuming that nothing's changed in the lore since then, and keep in mind that it's been 10-15 years since that was released, it likely could have, but I don't think that anything new's coming out as far as Titans are concerned. Now, the Imperial Knights, though, I feel like those are I know they're a much newer release, so I feel like that they're not something that they just stumbled upon, that it's been something that has been created by the Tech Priests of Mars, and or the Adeptus Mechanicus, if you prefer. And so they built something like that. So I'm hoping that we do get a new box with some new something for the Imperial Knights, maybe some new Armigers as well, that they came out with. So definitely some really cool stuff already, but I think that they could do more with that army than they've done. But now, so looking at the cards, we have our typical, stratagems, psychic powers. Now, the Abominant, I don't know, my understanding is that the other two style of Chaos Knights do not have the ability, but the Abominant does have psychic powers. So we're going to look at one of them, just chosen randomly. It's a Warp Charge 7, psychic power called the Storm Malevolent. Basically, the Storm I can't talk or read. Malevolent has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of this psyker Until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a friendly Chaos Knights model makes a melee attack against that unit, add 1 to the wound roll. On an unmodified wound roll of 6, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to normal damage. A maximum of 3 mortal wounds can be inflicted on an enemy player unit per phase as the result of this psychic power. So, I mean, right there, that's going to be a huge boost to your attacks, and can definitely, help you net a lot of damage. So there's actually quite a few psychic powers. So we have some war gear stratagems, strategic ploy stratagems. And we'll just read one of the a requisition stratagem called Arch Tyrant. So you use this after nominating a Chaos Knights character model to be your warlord. You can generate 1 additional warlord trait for them. Each warlord trait in your army must be unique. If randomly generated, reroll duplicate results. You can only use the stratagem once. Epic Deed stratagems. So let's look at the one called Death Grip. Use this stratagem in the fight phase. When an attack made with a Warp Strike Claw or Slaughter Claw or a relic that replaces such a weapon by a Chaos Knights model from your army is allocated to an enemy model. Before any save and throw is taken against that attack, both players roll off. If the strength characteristic of this Chaos Knights model is greater than that of the model the attack has been allotted to, add 1 to your result. If you win the roll-off, the invulnerable saving throws cannot be taken against the attack. Otherwise, damage characteristic of that attack is 0. So definitely sounds like some underhanded ways to negate some of the abilities of some of the other models in the game. So we also have some battle tactic stratagems, and then we have some strategic ploy stratagems specific to the different houses. So House Corvax, Commentus, Vextrix, Chimere, Lucaris, and Herpetrax, or not really sure how to say that one. I feel like I butchered it. It just felt wrong in the way I said that, but since I don't have any here that can correct me, you won't know until somebody from GW actually verbally in a video talks about it in order to verify. And then anytime you are using a knife to open a model kit or anything else, make sure that you either have adult supervision, or if you are an adult yourself or old enough anyway, make sure you're always cutting away from yourself, because we definitely don't want to have any accidents there. Now we have one of the thickest assembly instruction books I've seen. Let's see, just curious how many pages it was, but it does not give us a page count. And as always with the new assembly instructions, we do have the multi-tone, just to help make it easier to identify. And it looks like the tentacle arm is meant to be adjusted after it's in place, so that way you can kind of move it to adjust the pose if you want. And one thing I thought was really interesting is that the top of the chassis is covered in vultures, as well as one of the war dogs. And I mean, with them, looking at how they apply to the model, you could easily go without them. And I honestly think that I will, at least for the war dogs. But What the? Hey, nope, stop eating that. She's now trying to eat my mic cord. Nope, stop. Nope. Now she's trying to eat the sprues. What are you doing, you weirdo? Nope, stop. Alright. Alright, so we're gonna stop that from dangling. Nope, nope, stop. Malibu, come here. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this is the new Chaos Knights Codex. Special collector's edition cover. Now I have no idea what the cover for the actual normal release is going to look like, but this one, I mean, I love this artwork. It's the same as that's on the insert as well, and just absolutely brutal looking, and definitely looking forward to actually getting into the lore of these, because you know they are definitely a newer feature, so not something that we've had before. So we get to page 52 before we get into any of the rules. And so combat patrol, detachment abilities. You know, one of those abilities is traitorous lances. If the detachment is a super heavy detachment, or if you are playing a combat patrol battle and this detachment is a super heavy auxiliary detachment, select one war dog class, abhorrent class, or tyrant class model in the detachment. That model gains the character keyword. If the detachment contains 1 and 2 abhorrent class models, or if it contains 3 to 5 war dogs, this detachment's command benefits are changed to +3 command points if your warlord is part of the detachment. If this detachment contains 3 or more abhorrent models, or if it contains 6 or more war dog class models and 1 or more titanic units, this detachment's command benefits are changed to +6 command points if your warlord is part of the detachment. So I mean, right there, it's a easy way to get a lot of command points depending on how you actually set up your army. And then we go into with the Battleforged rules, we go into the Dread households. So going into the what each house, their individual abilities are. So depending on which house you go with, it definitely is going to determine, you know, some of the benefits you're going to get. Now, just to name alone, House Lucarius definitely has a great sounding warlord trait, which is strike first, strike often. At the start of the fight phase, if this warlord is within engagement range of enemy units, it can fight first that phase. I mean, so with these things as powerful as they are, if they get into hit first, the likelihood of, you know, that other thing not getting a chance is going to be much higher. And so, you know, definitely can see some benefits to that one. With Chimere, we have Maddened Cries, which is an aura ability. House Vextrix is Favor of the Dark Mechanicum. House Commentus has Dread Hunter, which that one is once per battle at the start of your shooting phase, the warlord can make a killing strike. If it does so, select one ranged weapon this warlord is equipped with. Until the end of that phase, each time an attack is made with that weapon, you can re-roll the hit roll, you can re-roll the wound roll, and you can add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. So, I mean, that one right there is great for people like me who have a tendency of losing most games not because of my strategy, but because my dice rolls are usually terrible. And so, you know, being able to do those re-rolls is going to give you a much better chance to make them more effective. So out of them so far, even though I love like an attack first, attack fast mentality, the fact that my dice rolls consistently suck, going with House Commentus definitely so far sounds like the one for me. With House Corvax, we have Lord of Dread, and then we go into Household Fell Bonds with Bold Tyrants, Bound Vassals, and then we go into our stratagem section. And I'm willing to bet, since we didn't read all of them, not 100% certain, but I'm willing to bet that these stratagems are all in these cards, if not some extras. Then we go into the Armory Rules section where we have Favor of the Dark Gods. So specific favors from Tzeentch and Khorne, as well as Nurgle and Slaanesh, and then Undivided, depending on which one you're leaning towards. Which we'll actually take a look at one of the Undivided ones. It's a Warp-born Stalker. The model gains the Pantheon Undivided keyword. During deployment, can set up this model in the Warp instead of setting it up on the battlefield. If this model is a War Dog class model, any other model in its unit are set up as if they were a separate unit, and if you do so, then during the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So using this is going to be a great strategy for keeping some of your units in reserve. Now, if you're doing a small army, where you're only having 1 knight and 2 of the war dogs, having some of them in reserve is probably not going to work very well for you. Sure, you're going to still get a lot of shots off with your knight, but the war dogs, if they come in later or vice versa, when it arrives, it's definitely going to tip the scale of the battle, but in doing so, you open up your other troops to a greater chance of being wounded. And so to me, with this army, I don't feel like that's a great stratagem to use, or trait, ability, whatever you want to call it. So, I would probably go with something else or use something else instead. So that way it's not going to increase the harm that, my Chaos Knight may receive. All right. Then we go into play rules section, where we have Purge the Enemy, No Mercy, No Respite, Battlefield Supremacy, and Shadow Operations. And then our Crusade rules. There's a specific one for Circle of Damnation. So basically, earning damned points will put you on a different circle of hell, or whatever you want to call it, and it looks like you get different benefits depending on which circle you're on. And then our Crusade battle traits, Chaos Knight suit battle scars, Crusade relics, and then we go into our data sheets, which this section is going to be quite small, at least is my guess. But on the way there, we have a Harbingers of Dread section, which shows doom, despair, darkness, and kind of a circular way of connecting back to Doom. And so in here we have the Wardog Executioner, the Wardog Stalker, Wardog Carnivore, and Wardog Brigand, as well as the Wardog Huntsman. Then we go into Knight Despoiler, which is what we had before, as well as Desecrator, Rampager. Then we have Knoght Abominant and Knight Tyrant. Now Knight Tyrant, I'm not sure if this kit will make one of those, but definitely worth finding out. And then we go into our weapon profiles and points values. And then lastly, our glossary and reference pages. Definitely a really cool book. I'm really looking forward to actually spending some time with this book, giving it a read, since I'm very unfamiliar with this army. But we're going to go ahead and put everything in place so that way we can show you a close-up of the actual kits themselves. So just setting everything out. All right, but other than that, I do want to thank you all for watching as always. You know, like I said at the beginning, this box was sent to us for the purpose of this video by Games Workshop ahead of time. So at the time of release, it will be available for pre-order. And hopefully by then we'll have some of the units, you know, at least constructed or possibly even painted by then. But definitely some things to look forward to. All right, so starting off, we're looking at the transfer sheets. Now I'm willing to bet that these same transfer sheets likely came with the previous Chaos Knight releases. So this is the main weapon sprue for the Abominant, as well as this one, which I'm pretty sure this one was likely featured before from the other Chaos Knight boxes. And then we have our 3 sprues for the War Dogs. And then here's the last sprue for the Abominant. And then, like I was saying, all the detail just right here on the chassis as well. Just a lot of attention to detail. You know, they did a great job with this, especially like looking in here, even underneath where you wouldn't be able to actually really model very well. It even has more wiring and components underneath there to just build upon that realism. But that is it for tonight. Thank you again, as always, for watching. And if any of you have any insight into the history of the Imperial Knights that they'd like to share with me, since I'm not very familiar with it, or if I was incorrect in my assumptions, please do let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate it. But other than that, you guys have a great night, and thank you again for watching.